Hello and welcome to Motorcycle News, and welcome to something very special indeed. Now you join me in a secret location to look at this. This is the 2024 Suzuki GSX-S1000GX. Now the GX is one of two new Suzukis for 2024. Alongside this, we've also got a GSX-8R, which is a little sports bike that builds on the 8S Naked that came out last year. But we're here today to focus on the GX, which joins a really popular class in Europe of tall sports bikes, tall rounders, adventure sports bikes, whatever you want to call them. So the rivals to this bike include BMW's recently revised S1000XR. You've also got Kawasaki's Versys 1000 range, and you could also consider Yamaha's Tracer 9 GT Plus, although that has got an ever so slightly smaller capacity and a 3-cylinder engine rather than a 4. So sticking with that engine, this bike, like the GT, uses Suzuki's proven 999cc double overhead cam 4-cylinder motor, which can trace its heritage back to the iconic GSX-R 1000 K5. So with that engine, you get around about 150 brake horsepower. In fact, performance figure-wise, torque and power are exactly the same as the GT. And it's one of the best sounding engines on the market as a standard system. I've spent lots of time with this configuration on a number of Suzuki models, and every time I'm always sort of blown away that they can make something sound so good and yet pass such strict emissions regulations that we find ourselves with these days. As well as the impressive engine, this bike's also got loads and loads of tech on it as well. The headline being, this is the first Suzuki to feature semi-active electronic suspension, which comes courtesy of Showa. Now, we're going to come back to that in a little bit with some of the experts who know far more about the bike than I do, but I'll just give you a little flavour of what else you can find on the bike. So in front of me, I can see a 6.5-inch colour TFT dash. There's also a USB charging port for your phone as well and other devices. There's also a Bosch 6-axis IMU on board, which allows for things like anti-wheelie. It's also got, loads and loads of systems in place, obviously, to work with the suspension. You've also got an up and down quick shifter as standard. More practically, you've got a revised riding position, which, feels really manageable for someone even of my size. You've got more padding in the seats. You've got a pillion grab rail, I can see. You've got sturdy handguards as well. So I won't go into any more detail than that for now. We'll get some experts in and we'll find out from them instead. So I've had the chance to pore over the press kit before I've come here and done this video today, but it's about 70 pages long, and I'll be damned if I can remember all of the details and all of the acronyms. So I've roped Steve in to come and talk me through some of the technology on the bike. So there's absolutely loads on it. I've made a list of a couple of really important bits that I think we should sort of cover off for the viewers. So first of all, I quite like to talk through the riding modes on this bike. So can you just sort of give us a bit of a flavour of what it's got and sort of how riders can go through changing things?
So you've got 3 riding modes. You've got A, B and C, and you see these towards the top of the 6.5-inch colour TFT dash. So as you change through these, A is active, B is basic, C is comfort. And then underneath that, there's a number of different things that are going to change as you make those adjustments. The one thing that sticks with each of the modes is the power profiles for the engine. So A is going to give you the most aggressive reactive map, B is a midpoint, and then C is a softer one. So if you're tired of riding or slippy road conditions, it's perfect for that. On top of that, there's 2 other key areas of the bike that are going to change. The first of those is the TLR control, or TC as it will appear on the dash. And the bigger the number here, the more proactive the system's going to be, and then the lower the number, the less active. And critically, the ability for riders, if they wish, to disengage the system if they're in an environment where they feel safe to do so. The final part of the puzzle is the semi-active suspension. So it's tuning the characteristic between hard, medium and soft. And then there's also the ability to make further tuning of those settings as well.
Fantastic, which brings me on to the second point quite nicely, because obviously the riding modes will interact and affect that electronic suspension, but it's a bit more complicated, isn't it, than just sort of A is the firmest, B is the middle and C is the softest. So what else can people do with that suspension?
So as you say, yeah, there's a number of layers to the semi-active suspension. One of the first components is, with it being electronically controlled, is the ability to make changes on the fly. And this is the bit that you'll see on the dash. This is the hard, medium, soft element. So this is where you're setting a range within which the suspension can operate. So obviously firm, if you're going for a sportier ride and higher paced, it's going to give you better handling characteristics. Whereas if the road situation changes or you want a softer, more compliant, more comfortable bike, you can move it all the way to soft. And there's the ability to make incremental changes to those overarching parameters as well. Not only that, because it's electronically controlled, when you're static with the bike, you've got the ability to change the rear preload as well, so the attitude of the bike. So there's optional 36-litre panniers each side for the bike as well. And for this type of customer, riding with pillion is going to be common for some people as well. So there's an auto level setting where you can let the bike pick for itself, or you can dedicated pick whether you want rider with pillion, rider with luggage, through all of those points as well. So that's the things that people would come to expect with semi-active. And then there's a number of things where the Suzuki system goes even further. So with it being Showa suspension, front and rear, there is a version of the Skyhook system that we call float control. And this is where we're really trying to maintain the handlebars and all of the upper parts of the bike as static as possible, and really letting the suspension, the wheels and the tyres react. So whether you've got high frequency, lots of small bumps, whether you've got larger, deeper, less frequent bumps, and it's just making sure that using the IMU, it will tune the bike's characteristics. An important part of this though is making sure there's still a real strong connection between what the rider can feel and what the bike's doing.
Of course,
so it's dialing out a level of change, but it's still making sure that you've still got that feel, that connection and that enjoyment with the bike. As I said, it goes even further than just conventional Skyhook, using the IMU data and also the speed data. It's also looking at the position and the attitude of the bike as well. So under heavy braking, it will be taking a feed from the IMU so it can make further changes to the suspension characteristics to give even better corner performance. And then also vehicle speed data as well, things like hard acceleration, and again, changing the damping characteristics to give the best possible rider experience as well.
I see. So nice and simple then. And all those changes presumably are done through that TFT dash.
Yeah, 100%. So you've got really nice, simple, easy to use, intuitive switchgear on the left-hand side. So when you're on the move, you can make adjustments to these settings as you wish, and then all really, really clear through that colour TFT dash as well.
Fantastic. And you've already alluded to another Suzuki acronym there, the TLR control. So that's another piece of the puzzle which splits into three smaller pieces of the puzzle. So again, if you could just kind of run us through that and sort of explain how it differs from, you know, all the other options on the market.
So Suzuki call it TLR control, but appreciate not everybody jumping on the GX is going to be somebody that's familiar with Suzuki. So to make it easier for people to access, what it says on the dash is TC, because most people within motorcycling, especially these days with all the technology and rider aids, there's TC for traction control. But the reason we call it TLR control is there's three key elements. There's your traditional traction control. There's lift control, aka anti-wheelie, and then also something called roll torque control as well, which is important and very different from the conventional traction control system. So taking them in order, traction is looking at the wheel speed differential, and if it encounters too much differential between your wheel speeds, it's that conventional thing of looking at ignition timing and if needs be fueling to make sure it maintains the attitude of the bike and the safety of the rider. The L being lift control or anti-wheelie. So again, this is taking an IMU feed, so it's looking not only about how the bike is pitched back and forth, whether it's turning, but also looking at if the front wheel's trying to come up, and again, it can intervene to maintain the posture of the bike, make sure you get through the corner in the best way possible and then continue to enjoy the ride of the bike. The roll torque control also is taking a feed from the IMU, so again it knows the attitude of the bike and exactly what it's doing within space at any given time, and this is a proactive system. So with your conventional traction control, no matter how low the setting, it is still reacting to that difference in wheel speed. Where the roll torque control differs is based on your lean angle, it is setting a ceiling on engine torque and performance in terms of what's going to get you out of the corner, hitting that apex, wide grin and enjoying your ride. So that acts proactively and works in conjunction with those other systems to just help you maintain your line and enjoy your ride corner after corner.
Fantastic. So it doesn't matter, you know, I could be sort of banked over in a corner and give it a big old handful. It's going to, you know, give me what it deems to be the appropriate amount of power rather than the full 150 horsepower.
Yeah. I think as a high-level explanation, I think the thing we'd always urge is, obviously this is primarily acting on the rear of the bike, and obviously as you hit the gas you can also load the front, so you want to be careful of things like slow-speed slides. But essentially, yeah, I think whether you are maybe a less experienced rider in some tricky conditions or a really experienced rider that's got the settings turned down a bit lower, yeah, it certainly gives you the option to sort of maximise the enjoyment out of every single ride you take on the GX.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for taking the time to explain that to me and to everybody else. So I promised you experts after the introduction, and I've now got the director of Suzuki GB, Paul DeLucian, with me for a little bit of a chat. So Paul, thank you very much for stepping into the hot seat.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, and congratulations on a great looking bike.
Yeah, thank you. I think it does look fantastic, and really excited to be launching this into market now. Get customers on the bike as quickly as we can.
Fantastic. So this bike is obviously based on the GT platform, and you see loads and loads of GTs around. So it's obviously been popular. But you know, do you see this being a bike that's going to sort of encourage GT customers to move to this, or are we looking to bring in more customers from elsewhere?
I think we're going to do both of those things.
Yeah.
I think the GT has been really popular. Combination of that fantastic engine, chassis, that platform has just been really good. So we're really excited about that. We've got really good reviews from customers on that GT. But it's great to have another place for Suzuki customers to go. So wherever they are on their journey with Suzuki, they can move to this bike if they want to and come onto a GX, but they've also got the choice of the GT, Hayabusa. So I think we've got some great bikes at the top end of our range now. But it is a really good emerging sector as well. There's other bikes in that sector. There's lots of customers on these kind of bikes. But I think we're bringing something quite new to that sector. So I'd like those customers to come and ride Suzuki and try it, and I'm sure that they'll stick with us with that.
Absolutely, and as you already alluded to, quite a busy sector, lots and lots of rivals there. So what's going to set the Suzuki apart from those? I understand it's quite a competitive price point that you're coming in at.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's two things. I think the price is very competitive.
Yeah.
But I think one of the key things that goes with that price is that we've got all the technology you need, and it's included in that price of the bike.
Right. Okay.
And there's quite a lot of bikes in this sector where there's a base level bike. We're going to be very competitive with that, but we're going to have all the spec that the top level bikes tend to have. So I think that puts us in a really strong position from that point of view.
Fantastic. And what is that price point?
The price is going to be 14,499.
Brilliant.
On the road, which I think is a very strong price. And also first customers taking delivery of their bikes by Christmas.
Oh, brilliant.
So it's really nearly here.
Fantastic stuff. And that 14,499, that's, you get your electronic suspension and all that in
Yeah,
that?
I mean, you've got your cruise control, you've got your bi-directional quick shifter, you've got your electronic suspension, you've got your rider modes. So you've got some really great technology.
Fantastic. And that's going to undercut a lot of the competition. But obviously loads and loads of tech on this. One of the things that isn't on this, that is on some bikes in this sector, is radar assisted cruise control.
Sure.
Now, what was the reason behind that?
I think when we're thinking about what we're going to put on a bike in terms of specification, we're thinking about what does the customer need, and where do we want to be price point wise to offer great Suzuki value to our customers. And we decided at this point in time in the market that actually customers don't need that technology, and probably we can offer a price point that's rather better if we don't have it. So for now, it's not there.
Fantastic. But, never say never. Could we see something in the future?
I think, you're seeing electronic suspension on our bikes for the first time now.
Yeah.
Suzuki will always bring in new technologies to our bikes. When the time is right, new technologies come.
Fantastic. And, sticking with that, obviously there's loads of other bikes in your range that you could quite easily see stuff like electronic suspension appearing on. So again, is there a consideration there? Could we see, I don't know, a V-Strom, a GT or whatever, having this technology filter down?
Yeah, I can't say where it will go in the future, but what I can say about Suzuki is we always think about the technologies that we've got and where they're best placed in our range.
Right.
So yeah, let's see what happens in the future.
Fantastic stuff. That's brilliant. And, moving away from the technology now, that motor, obviously, it's a cracking motor.
Yes.
It's a brilliant noise, loads and loads of punch, but its origins are nearly 20 years old now. It's quite a well-established engine. I think that's fair to say. So, is this like a last hurrah for that? Are we going to see more bikes using this motor, or is it time for one of the other brilliant four-cylinder engines to take over in the future?
Again, I can't really talk about what we'll do in the future for engine-wise, but what I can say is, this is a legendary, iconic engine. Everybody who's ridden any bike with this engine in will tell you about that and talk about it. It's absolutely perfect for this bike. Personally, for me, I'll be happy to see this engine carry on because I just think it's so nice to ride. It's so exciting, and as you say, that noise that it makes, the mid-range is just epic. So, it's not broke. So let's use it and get as many customers to experience that as we can.
Fantastic. And as a closing point then, basically what sets this apart? This is a new journey, new step for Suzuki, but why should customers consider this over everything else?
I think because the riding dynamics are absolutely fantastic. So I think, come and try this bike, and depending on the setting you're using, you've got something that is fantastic for all day comfort for two people, or for a sporty ride out with your mates when you want to go for a thrash. And it's all of those things in one package. It's a comfortable riding position, but can do all of those things really well. So whether you're a sports bike rider typically, or whether you've been an adventure bike rider, or whether you're a touring bike rider, our sports crossover is the ultimate sports crossover. Come and try it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dave.
So there you have it, Suzuki's 2024 GSX-S1000GX. Now this is a really impressively spec machine. Obviously it lacks things like radar cruise, but it's much cheaper than a lot of its rivals, and I think it's going to do really, really well in the UK and indeed across Europe. At some point soon, we'll get the chance to ride this on its launch, and then moving into 2024, we'll be putting it through its paces in group tests as well. So remember to give us a like and a subscribe for more videos on this bike coming soon, and I will catch you on the next one.